You are about to enter the courtroom of the Honorable Judge KennieJD. Does she have any movie critic experience? No. Does she have any authority? No. But they gave her a show anyways. The movies are bad. The cases are good. The rulings are final. This is in defense of...
Hello, and welcome to In Defense Of, a More Butter production. I am your host, KennieJD, and your judge as well. They gave me a gavel, hello. Ayo. And on this here podcast / show or whatever it is we do here, I look at movies that got really bad ratings or did poorly at the box office and decide whether or not they deserve them. So last week we came back, we talked about not Jennifer, Jupiter Ascending. I wanted to call her Jennifer Rising. Oh boy. Okay. Truly a pile of trash, befuddling in every way possible. So much so that I half paid attention to it. And spoiler, kind of for this week too. But if you'd like to check that out, that'll be on the More Butter channel. Also, feel free to like us here on YouTube, listen to us in audio or video podcast format over on Spotify or wherever else you listen to podcasts. And be sure to put your recommendations for follow-up movies that I should rule a judgment on. This episode, we are going to be looking at Ghostbusters 2016, a sort of all-girls remake of sorts of the classic film from the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. Honestly, by the time I had enough social awareness to know what this movie was, I had no interest in it. I was 12, and that movie was damn near 30 years old at that point, so I just didn't care. But when this movie came out, I do remember somewhat of a, misogynistic outcry of them turning it into woke Ghostbusters. God, y'all need a life. Seriously. Really, you need help. Y'all made women the head of Ghostbusters? This is gonna be trash. Now it's not good. But surely there's other reasons but misogyny for why this movie isn't particularly good. So Ghostbusters, aka Ghostbusters Answer the Call, is a 2016 American supernatural comedy film directed by Paul Feig. Is that how you say? Girl, y'all always give me names and you never warn me. Whoever made and written by Feig and Katie Dippold. It has Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, Leslie Jones, Chris Hemsworth? Was that who played Kevin? I didn't even recognize him. Do I just not know what Chris Hemsworth actually looked? Oh yeah. Yeah. Apparently I just don't know what Chris Hemsworth actually looks like. Yeah, the movie does suck, but I feel like a lot of people said it before they even watched it because A, they were a fan of Ghostbusters, and any remake of anything, they're gonna be like, it's not as good as the original. And then those same 58-year-olds are probably statistically leaning misogynistic, so you're wokening Ghostbusters? If you haven't caught along, it's a reboot of the 1984 comedy by the same name, Ghostbusters, and the third film in the Ghostbusters franchise. The story focuses on four odd and eccentric women and their incompetent assistant played by Chris Hemsworth, who are interested in the paranormal, the parapsychological, ghost hunting. And they decide to open up a business in New York to catch ghosts after one of them gets fired from being a professor because they think she was crazy as hell for trying to find fictional or theorized entities. Throughout the film, there's a bunch of people from the original movies making cameos within the film. Being that I never saw the original movie, there was only a few that I just assumed were from the original movie. There was a point where a taxi driver says he ain't afraid of no ghosts. So I was like, yeah, he was probably in the original one. There's also a point in which they make a new rendition of the Ghostbusters theme song, which I haven't looked up, but it sounds like the lead singer of Fall Out Boy and Missy Elliott. Editing team, can someone check if that's correct? That's what it sounds like. What a wild combination of people. Like, where'd you get... They really just put, like, some names in a bag and said, let's see who we can get to make this new rock rendition of I Ain't Afraid of No Ghost. So, like I was referring to before, the announcement of the female-led cast in 2015 drew a polarized response from the public and resulted in a lot of internet backlash. This was what I remember from this movie. I don't remember the movie itself, whether or not people liked it or not. I just remember people being very vitriolic about the idea of making a woman-led Ghostbusters, leading ultimately to the film having low ratings before the film's release. What's it like to feel like your oppression is when they put women in a movie, cis straight white men? What's it like? I gotta know, because what a joyous existence you've been in that you feel oppressed when someone switches the characters in your movie and not like switches laws around your health and well-being. Sorry, this isn't my channel. I don't know how political I can get, but you should keep that in there. This is my show after all. Heyo. So though the movie grossed about $229 million worldwide, when you include production costs, it ended up not even breaking even. And by the time theaters took their cut, there was losses of around $70 million. Most critics seem to think that it's fine. It's a fun movie. It's a movie that you kind of know what you're walking into, as you would with regular Ghostbusters. I don't think a whole lot of people took regular Ghostbusters all that seriously, but because people are misogynistic, the audience score is a bit polarizing because, again, the original viewership for the first Ghostbusters are old men who are like, you're gonna put women in where we are? We're oppressed. Like, shut the fuck up. So as far as the film itself, I do think that it gets largely overshadowed by the kind of misogynistic anti-women discourse around the film itself. Like, if you watch this movie, it's honestly fine. That's my review of the film. It's fine. It's cute, it's funny, it's family friendly, corny, but so is regular Ghostbusters from what I've seen about the film. Also, it came out in the mid-'80s, so I'm sure. Like, it's silly, it doesn't take itself too seriously, it's a fun time. But because a lot of the conversation around the movie is so indicative of just hatred towards women, and especially when men feel as though they've lost a sense of power because they're oppressed now because women are doing things. It's a very middle ground movie. It's not spectacular. It's not like, oh, just the most amazing film I've ever seen. Probably regular Ghostbusters wasn't that great either, but somehow it became a cultural phenomenon. I don't know if you hear that. They're doing construction. So I'm sure this is great, easy listening for all of you. Thank you. So in the movie, we follow a paranormal researcher named Abby Yates, who is played by Melissa McCarthy, and physicist Erin Gilbert, played by Kristen Wiig. And after Erin Gilbert loses her job because her university finds out that she's looking up ghosts, and that doesn't look good if she's trying to go for tenure, they end up firing her. And her and Abby end up making a company in which they collect apparitions that are haunting New York City, along with Yates' engineer, who is Jillian Holtzman, and Patty Tolan, played by Leslie Jones, a lifelong New Yorker who knows the city inside and out, and is particularly familiar with being in situations with the paranormal. So with the accoutrement that you expect from the Ghostbusters franchise and some other forms of just slapstick comedy, the four women prepare for battle as more than 1,000 mischievous ghouls descend on Times Square. One of the things that is kind of confusing about this film is that we don't really know who the specific bad guy is, so to speak, for a lot of it, until we just randomly meet this weird, eerie incel by the name of Rowan north. And he is, very Joker adjacent, wanting to summon ghouls and goblins and the ghosts to bring on essentially a big apocalypse because the world is evil, yada yada. We live in a society. And he's basically been studying the Ghostbusters work through like a book that they made a long time ago. And he basically plants this giant device at a live concert to make ghouls go amok. And of course, our Ghostbusters are in to save the day. Being that the crowd sees this ghost for the first time, they're kind of confused, but they liken it to being a part of the live show. And soon it becomes like a public discourse whether or not these women are actual ghost hunters or whether or not they're these grifters trying to make people believe what they do is legitimate. And eventually they end up being summoned by the mayor of New York, as well as other government officials who are basically like, we get it. You are looking at ghosts and that's cool or whatever. We know about them, but we're doing that. I'm gonna need you to stop because you're just making this, like, this is our thing. We're like trying to hide aliens and ghosts from the public. Like, we need you to like fall back because you're gonna cause chaos, like absolute mind-boggling chaos. Later we find out that the incel boy is planting a portal at the beautiful Mercado Hotel in Times Square, where apparently it has a long history of being where many a ghost can enter into the human world. It's like a portal or something. I don't know. Ghosty bitches always got some lore. But to avoid being caught by the girls, the incel dude ends up killing himself so that he can become a ghost that can run a ghost army to take over the world, essentially. Chaos ensues. He possesses Abby at one point, possesses Chris Hemsworth's character. His name is Kevin. I don't know why that's funny to me. His name is Kevin. And Incel Boy opens up the portal to unleash his ghost army. At one point, he possesses the logo for the Ghostbusters. At another point, he becomes the Stay Poof Marshmallow Man. But eventually, they're able to close the reactor and return the ghost from the shithole from which it came. Now that the world is saved, the mayor decides to secretly fund the Ghostbusters, though he has to basically say they're frauds and fraudulent to the public because, like, we can't have people thinking the ghosts are real. Even though, as they say on the news, they're like, so many people saw the ghost. Are you really trying to tell us we didn't see what we saw? He was like, nope. Some terrorists poisoned the water supply and it was all a group hallucination. And that, my friends, is essentially the end of the movie. So the defense... The movie sucks, okay? But not in the way that should surprise anybody. Not because it's a remake and not because it's woman-led, but because it's a corny-ass movie about ghost busting. Like, what the fuck? What did y'all expect? Truly. What did you expect from a movie about, like, slime ghosts and corniness? You were like, oh my god, this is just so corny. Like, fuck, yeah. Like, is the movie good? It's fine. Like, I wouldn't watch it again. I also wouldn't be surprised if that was the viewing experience I was going into. And I think this movie just gets heat. I know this movie just gets more heat than any other crappy, like this is no different to me than like some shit from Mel Brooks. like it's not. This is just some corny shit. This is giving very like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but nobody was losing their shit when a bunch of stupid ass men were doing it in the 80s. Like, the fuck out of here. This shit is innocent. Is it good? No. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a good movie. It's Ghostbusters. And yeah, again, I'm not basing this off of like a nostalgia with Ghostbusters, but I'm sure there's a lot of like callbacks and like inside jokes that I didn't get. And they might get a little chortle if you're like familiar with the original series. But again, I expected corny and that's what I got, damn it. So it's innocent. I'm not gonna let misogyny be the reason y'all pick any decisions ever. I said what I said. If you have your own show, then maybe you can bitch about it to yourself. Anyway, that's all for today's episode. Saucy. If you would like to check out any other episodes of In Defense Of, that is here on More Butter in a playlist, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere. Probably on my face somewhere. Also, feel free to check me out over on the Camp Counselors playlist. If I'm not mistaken, we're having, if it isn't up already, we will have a video up soon. No, why am I stumbling on my way? So check me out there. Also check me out on my channel, KennieJD. I'm everywhere, KennieJD, mind you. Instagram, Twitter, and of course here on YouTube's Elva Check KennieJD. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.